In the year 2000, Sony released its successor to the original PlayStation, the appropriately named PlayStation 2. The PS2 eventually became the best-selling console to date, selling over 153 million units, and still continuing to grow. At the time, the PS2 towered over its competition in terms of sales and the number of great games. In fact, making this list, I had to make some pretty tough decisions on what made the cut. So without further ado, let's begin. Number 10.
We always used to promise each other that we would stay together.
Fatal Frame 2, The Crimson Butterfly. Let's start off this list with a lesser known game that will genuinely scare your socks off. In this game, you follow Miyu and her sister Mayu as they explore a deserted village occupied only by long-dead spirits. Instead of pulling off jump scare after jump scare, Fatal Frame 2 builds suspense from the atmosphere and the combat. As opposed to other survival horror games, where characters are armed to the neck with guns, Fatal Frame 2 presents Miyu with the Camera Obscura, a mystical camera that exorcises ghosts to defeat them. Something special about the Fatal Frame series is the combat, which rewards the player by getting dangerously close to the enemies for maximum damage. The Fatal Frame series is one of the best lesser-known franchises, and is one of the greatest survival horror games of all time. That sounds like a really good future top 10.
Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly.
Kill me.
James, honey, did something happen to you? After we got separated in that long hallway? Are you confusing me with someone else? You were always so forgetful. Remember that time in the hotel? You said you took everything, but you forgot that videotape we made. I wonder if it's still there. I'm not your Mary.
Number 9. Silent Hill 2. Speaking of horror games, who could forget about Silent Hill 2? The franchise has really taken a fall from grace, but Silent Hill 2 represents the epitome of what the franchise is all about. A chilly atmosphere, decent combat, and mind-bending puzzles. The story stars James's journey to try and find his dead wife, after receiving a letter from her postmarked after her death. Whether or not you think Silent Hill 2 trumps the original, we can all agree this is a great game that is worthy of being on this list.
I'm here for you, James. See? I'm real.
Number 8. Okami. The Zelda franchise is one of Nintendo's top flagship franchises, and Okami has definitely taken heavy inspiration from Zelda, but it also adds its own unique feel. After the return of the evil monster Orochi, the white wolf goddess Amaterasu has been woken from a deep slumber to take down the foul creature. Like Zelda, Okami features a large overworld and dungeons where Amaterasu will traverse an environment to defeat a boss. On the way to the boss, Amy will learn the new celestial brush technique, which she can pause time, draw things like bombs, lightning bolts, lily pads, etc., and create that object in real life. Before witnessing the credits, you will encounter a cast of colorful characters, see beautiful environments, all the while having a great time. Be sure to get this Game of the Year winner if you haven't already.
The human mind. Have seen
Number 7.
If I could just get
Psychonauts.
some experiments, I'm sure he could withstand more than the others.
I've got big plans for that mind.
My name
Starts with a D.
is Rasputin.
He came to camp to become a
Just
psycho-
as shooters are the current most popular genre among players today, platformers used to be much more prevalent than they are currently. One overlooked game among the PS2 platformer age is Psychonauts. Rather than a series of platforming levels bundled together with a simple story, Psychonauts' story takes a more RPG approach by occasionally providing branching dialogue and a somewhat open world to explore. In Psychonauts, you play as Rasputin, or Raz for short, who's attending the Whispering Rock Psychic Summer Camp, a secret summer camp for children of psychic abilities. What starts out as a simple summer camp spirals out of control to stop a diabolical scheme to take over the world. The story is outrageously unique, and leads to great scenarios like jumping in people's heads and exploring their minds. If you want a fun story, great platforming, and an overall great time, I couldn't recommend this game anymore.
And those of you who fight well, you will find yourselves on the path to becoming international secret agents. In other words, Psychonauts!
Number 6. Jak 2. Jak and Daxter is a great platformer reminiscent of Banjo-Kazooie or the Super Mario 64. Jak 2 takes place almost immediately after the first game, in which Jak and Daxter travel into the future. Jak gets captured and injected with Dark Eco, which gives him inhuman powers, a new haircut, a bad attitude, and oddly enough, the ability to speak.
Fight for the city, you know.
Jak 2 takes many of the things from the first game that made it great and blends them with an open world and the ability to use guns. But while Jak 2 is very different from its predecessor, it still has what made the original great. Daxter is as funny as ever.
Surrender and die.
Excuse me, sir. Don't you mean surrender or die?
The platforming elements still exist, but in smaller quantities, and the same cast of characters still remain in the darker world.
Something's happening to me. Something he did. I can't control it.
That was cool. Do it again. Get your squirrely ass out of here. The Demolition Duo has returned. You can count on us.
Jak and Daxter.
Where would you be without me, eh, Dax?
Well, Jack, I probably wouldn't be 2 feet tall, fuzzy, and running around in a sewer without a pair of pants.
A new legacy begins.
God, I miss pants.
Number 5. Kingdom Hearts 2. A beloved game by casual players, hardcore gamers, and cosplayers alike, Kingdom Hearts 2 was the return of the video game union of Final Fantasy and Disney. After the not-so-brief intro of a boy named Roxas, you get to play as the world's favorite spiky-haired kid. And no, I don't mean Yugi. I mean Sora. The Kingdom Hearts 2 story picks up from Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and continues with the trio of Sora, Donald, and Goofy, searching for their friends. On the way, they visit many Disney worlds and encounter many villains, including the malicious called Organization 13. The story is grand in scale, but without playing the previous games, you won't understand very much of the plot. And even if you have played the other games, some of the plot points will still go over your head. Some consider it one of the best RPGs ever. I consider it to be the 5th best PS2 game.
You show me how to see.
Number 4. Splinter Cell 3. Chaos Theory. The infamous Third Echelon Spy returns for the third game in the series, and never looked better. The gameplay of the Splinter Cell action stealth series revolves around darkness. As long as you're properly hidden in the darkness, you are virtually undetectable. Chaos Theory brought welcome new additions to the gameplay, such as context-sensitive interrogations, vastly improved animations for close-quartered combat, dynamic multiple objectives, as well as the improved Spies vs. Mercs multiplayer. Splinter Cell 3 has more polish than the last two entries, and it brought a level of immersion the first two never had.
Chaos is a drop away. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Chaos Theory.
Number 3. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Rockstar, the developer of Grand Theft Auto from the third entry onward, have been praised as outstanding developers, and GTA San Andreas is the reason why. In addition to the dozens of hours to play the main story missions, it's very entertaining and distracting to simply cause chaos. You can steal a car, run from the police and try and get away, or hold out as long as you can. Besides the medium-sized San Andreas, you can also explore the GTA equivalent of San Francisco and Las Vegas, giving you a huge bang for your buck.
Grand Theft Auto San Andreas.
Number 2. God of War 2. While Devil May Cry and Ninja Gaiden are fun, God of War is the true king of hack and slash.
With the strength of revenge.
God of War 2 takes place after Kratos kills Ares and becomes the new God of War. Kratos then goes down to aid Sparta's conquest of Rhodes and is forcefully relieved of his powers by the goddess Athena. Kratos then vows to kill the gods for their betrayal.
Is torment.
The God of War series is known for its epic boss fights. And God of War 2 has the most boss fights in the series, and they do not disappoint. One of the standout boss fights is the Colossus of Rhodes, animated by Athena herself. God of War 2 is a great adventure in gaming, and an epic journey that you should not miss.
Athens must now risk an eternity of torment to change his fate.
Your soul will never find peace for what you have become.
I am what the gods have made me!
Number 1. Metal Gear Solid 3. Subsistence.
It's time for Fox to clear its name.
If someone were to ask me what my all-time favorite game is, I'd probably answer Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. The story for MGS3 takes place during the Cold War, and you play as Naked Snake, later known as Big Boss. The story in MGS3 is filled with many unforgettable characters and emotional moments that I simply couldn't bring myself to ruin for you. With the Subsistence version, the top-down camera angles are gone, replaced by the camera being placed behind Snake's back. Also, the cone vision of the enemies in previous games is replaced by a camouflage system that gives feedback on how much you blend into the jungle, through a percentage on the HUD.
I'm defecting to the Soviet Union.
While I love this game to death, I can't help but wish the controls were exactly like Metal Gear Solid 4, where there's actual third-person way to shoot. But that one gripe aside, I simply can't recommend this game enough.
And now you tell me she's my enemy?
It tells an amazing story, has great action stealth gameplay, and like all Metal Gear Solid games, it provides you with many Easter eggs and laughable moments, such as hiding in a box. Seriously, go buy this game. if you aren't one of the many millions of people who bought a PlayStation 2, it would be worth your while to pick up a used PS2 and have access to the games on this top 10 and the countless of other amazing games on the greatest selling console ever.